Hello, my name's Joyce Gibb, and thanks for being with me today. I want to give the credit for this lecture, which is part one of a two-part series, to Jay Davison and from Cellcore Biosciences, because these are a lot of the slides that he actually did a presentation on, and people frequently ask about iodine. That's what we're going to talk about today, and how this impacts, with all the halogens and the periodic table, etc. So it's kind of a lot of information here, which I'm going to kind of skim through. But you can actually look at Cellcore, and they have a lot of this lecture up there also. So the first thing is iodine. We need more than what you think we need. So what does this tie into? So chlorine, fluorine, bromide, they're all considered halogens. And, we put chlorine in the water supply. And chlorine actually competes with iodine in your thyroid for absorption. It was usually added just because they felt like the teeth needed fluoride. Well, the teeth need fluoride if you apply it topically. I don't even do that myself, but the dentists, of course, they give you a fluoride treatment, but you don't need it added to your total water supply. So Jay put on here, why is it added to our water? The idea of adding fluoride to our water system was based on a flawed study done in 1940. 1940, think about that. It was shown that fluoride, when applied topically to the teeth, was a benefit to people. And there's a big difference between topically applying fluoride to the teeth and ingesting it over a long period of time. So research shows that fluoride is toxic and is a reactive element that damages body tissues, particularly in the nervous system after continuous exposure. So one of the things on each one of these, he actually has it identified here with where he got the source. So why is it added to our water? Basically, the effects of fluoride toxicity are not immediate and can take 20 years or more to actually show up. So, and it's been shown by Dean Burke, and he's an MD at the U.S. National Cancer Institute, that fluoride causes more human cancer deaths and causes it faster than any other chemical. So isn't that nice to know that we're getting that? So right here is the periodic table. And if you look at the halogens, which are right on this side, all in red, and I'll just read those basically. So it's fluoride, chlorine, bromide, and iodine. So iodine's the last one. So what is iodine? So iodine was actually discovered by Dr. Lugol, and you've heard of Lugol drops, and that was in 1829. And he used the ratio of iodine to iodide, and it's 5 milligrams of iodine to 7.5 milligrams of iodine. It needs to be in the elemental form of iodine, and so it refers to these different ways that you can look at iodine. So the thyroid gland, what you always hear, the thyroid needs iodine. Iodine may be the preferred form for the thyroid gland. It's IDE. And in the study of deficient rodents, iodine was more effective at restoring thyroid health than iodine. Then the second one, breast tissue. Iodine may be superior to iodine. And so a lot of women, when they're deficient in iodine, they actually have fibrocystic breast disease. So the different forms of different glands need different forms of iodine. Pituitary gland, preferred form is iodine. Prostate gland, iodine. Skin is iodide. So where do we get iodine in nature? Oceans are the world's main repositories of iodine. So that's why you use, seaweed and sea kelp and all that has high forms of iodine. There's very little of it in the Earth's surface. So fluoride inhibits the absorption of iodide. And so when you have fluoride applied on your teeth, that actually can inhibit the absorption of iodine with your thyroid gland. So iodine used to be everywhere. The povidone iodine, the brown stuff they clean with during surgical procedures, that was used topically on the skin. In the 1950s, they put iodine in bread, milk, supplements, salt, and even antiperspirants. So there is no iodine added currently to bread or milk. And so, there used to be a lot more than there is now. So people say, oh, just eat salt. Salt has iodine in it. Well, there's minimal amounts of iodine in salt, just to let you know. Fluoride-containing drugs so these are fluorine-containing drugs. So they are essential structures in modern pharmaceuticals, and half of the most successful drugs contain fluorine atoms. And so fluvoxamine, and you can look at like inhalers that have that in it. So, but what happens? These halogens can be endocrine disrupting chemicals, and they impact your thyroid and your iodine. So when we look at like how much iodine is there, or how much do we need? And is the U.S. deficient in iodine? And we would say yes. So in the 1970s, the dietary iodine has drastically reduced. And then there's women that have reproductive issues. The world's deficient in iodine. 2 billion individuals worldwide have insufficient iodine intake. And then these effects are due to inadequate production of thyroid hormone. And then iodine deficiency is the most common cause of preventable mental impairment worldwide. So, there was a call to eliminate eliminate the deficiency side, or to make more people use more iodine. Salt's not a good source. I already said that. Iodized salt does not have enough iodine in it. Still, despite deficient salt intake, there's still women that have problems. 1 in 7 Americans are believed to be deficient in iodine. And the Himalayan sea salt does not have iodine in it unless it is added to that. So make sure, if you say, oh, I'm using, Himalayan sea salt for all the minerals, then that can also be an issue. So what does RDA mean? RDA mean is the recommended daily dietary allowance. And the amount that they're recommending is to prevent goiter. The U.S. recommended daily allowance is only 150 micrograms. For an adult, that's 0.15 milligrams. So what's commonly quoted? Iodine is mostly concentrated in the thyroid gland. A healthy adult body contains 15 to 20 milligrams of iodine, 70 to 80% of which is stored in the thyroid gland. Now, that really isn't true. In conditions of adequate iodine supply, no more than 10% of the absorbed iodine is taken up by the thyroid. In chronic iodine deficiency, this fraction can exceed 80%. So if you have decreased iodine, you have decreased iodine going to the thyroid. So a deficient body contains 15 to 20 milligrams of iodine, 70% of which is stored in the thyroid gland. So a healthy body only stores like 10% of that in the thyroid. So everybody thinks, oh, you need all this iodine, which we do need a lot more than we ever thought we did. Chinese and Asian populations, they use a lot of seaweed and things like that, so their iodine levels are higher. Their diets are rich in sea vegetables. They can get up to 13.8 milligrams per day just in their food. And they've shown in Japan that mothers that are deficient in iodine have an increased risk of premature deaths in their infants. So that's all I'm talking about today for iodine. Part 2, we're going to talk about how much iodine should we get. Thanks a lot. Stay tuned for part 2. Thanks for listening. If you want to make sure you're getting the latest health information, click the subscribe button below and ring the bell. That way you can make sure you're not going to miss out on any of the latest information.